generally, not just in literacy, people think, oh, I have to have social media to keep things real, and I'm a huge supporter of social media, but I don't think they think about the audience enough, and do they need everything, or do they need to start with small, with, one tool, and do they have a message to tell? Like I'm saying, I don't want to get it orange, I want to get something that's interesting, and has a purpose, and I don't think you can just sprinkle social media on a bad communication strategy and how it works. It has to be a good communication. What you said about this, it's not about the tool, it's about the message. I think too many people think it's about the tool.
Absolutely. For anyone who does maintain a social media presence, is their messaging tailored towards a direct audience, or do they cast a very wide net? Does anyone want to share any of their experiences in terms of how they manage their online presence? Sure, right here. Yep.
I was going to say, I can't really relate so much with campaigning, but I use Facebook regularly with my program learners, and it's a wonderful way for them to stay in touch with me. Sometimes it's more affordable for them to send me an email than to even get to a phone. Some of them have phones. But I find it's been most effective in follow-up, because phone numbers change, and sometimes when you're doing some follow-up, you can't connect with them by the numbers that they've left on the file. So I've been able to stay in touch. I don't know if that's quite what you're asking, but I use Facebook a really different way, but I do like this whole campaign idea.
There's a
ideas.
basic common connective element to
Yeah.
it too, right? It's
And
really
keep that
powerful.
the key thing is keeping that separate from my personal life. And it's a totally different page, but it just unifies us as a group.
Yeah, and so these are learners that you're talking about that you use?
Yeah.
'Cause I don't work with learners, I don't know that world, but it seems to me like Facebook and Twitter are kind of practical ways to practice skills, right? Like reading and writing skills, simple and easy. And I'm interested, does anybody else work with learners with these elements to connect with them and help them practice their skills? And have you had any interesting experiences that you want to share, or do you find them connective? Yeah.
Great, yeah, it's nice to hear.
We have a blog, and just thinking about people's comments about how much time it takes. We don't have a lot of followers, but there's still good reasons to have it, because most of our content is generated by our students. So we build learning projects around it. For example, the secretary who goes to the students' council will post the agenda and the minutes from the meeting there. There's a great sense of pride and excitement about seeing yourself online. Even though we don't have followers, there's still lots of reports.
Yeah.
The followers may come later.
Yeah. Does anybody else work with blogs too, with learners and blogs? Because for QLA, that's our main thing, and we're using that to engage with the community, engage with potential funders, and increase our presence in the community, and that's our main tool. We have more blog readers than we do Twitter followers, and that's where we're putting our energy, and it's so far been successful. So.
All right, was there one more question in the back? Oh, nope? Okay. All right, so with the audience, I guess we can look into more about viral tools. One thing, this is with our next idea, is some of the tools that everyone's probably talked a lot about so far this conference. I've already asked the question as to how many people use social media presence and with blogging. How many people here have multiple presences through these sort of viral tools? Do you just have one presence, or do you have multiple?
We use Facebook, LinkedIn, and we have Flickr, but
Sorry, what was the last one? Flickr? Okay. Do you find the same content going through all your presences, or do you have a separate person?
No, it's not the same. I mean, Facebook, you obviously can't post to Facebook as much as you do Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And YouTube, we're posting videos, which I do post those videos as well to our Facebook page. And LinkedIn is a completely different audience. That's kind of more we want to do business marketing. So yeah, they are all very different.
All right. Now let's link it back. Going into your Facebook and Twitter, do you find that your audiences are the same for both? Or
No, because I find that Facebook is
Mhm.
Twitter is more, kind of bunch of people like media educators, people that are interested in books. It's very broad.
Okay. Does anyone else have any similar comments or thoughts? Ooh, go ahead. All right, once again, don't be shy. No one's, oh, go right here.
I think with Facebook, perhaps with the others, there's a trust issue.
Mhm.
There's a certain percentage of the population that doesn't want to use it or delete their accounts.
Mhm.
I think that when you have to be careful in encouraging learners to become part of that.
Oh, yeah.
At High Learning Center, we have to make that much concerns. I think there was a huge Facebook leak just reported in the paper today about millions of people's accounts.
Mhm. Absolutely. And to further that point, social media, it's the new age of communication. It's not the next television or not the next radio. With that sort of marketing, you really pumped out as much information as you could to as many as you could. But with social media, it's about relationships. You have to, interact with who your audience is. It's a give or take in terms of what the relationship is about. So there's a lot of time investment compared to, say, traditional marketing avenues when you're trying to promote an idea. All right, let's look at a different viral tool, not online media presence at all. How many people still use traditional marketing senses, say printed materials, flyers, that sort of thing? All right, do you find more engagement using that traditional marketing sense versus your online presence? Does someone want to take a stab at it? Let us know about. Yeah.
Right now, actually, we're in a position where we're, aside from email, and a web page, we're a small organization, and we're only now sort of transitioning into, say, some of the other online viral tools.
Mhm.
So, of course, we have been using, of course, the paper brochures for years, and traditional media, public service announcements, things like that.
Mhm.
So those are working, but we're hoping and we're anticipating, say, as we move into, say, some of those, more modern tools that, that will, of course, increase, say, some the traffic, say, that the traditional ones are generating. Because, they are working, they're effective to a certain point,
Mhm.
but at the same time also, there are limitations as to sort of, sort of the level of interactivity and sort of the rate of getting information of that sort of thing. So those are kinds of things we're looking for.
Absolutely.
So the older things are working, we'll still keep them.
Mhm.
But, because, there's always a place. There's always someone's going to pick up a brochure or whatnot. But at the same time also, like I said, we're sort of looking to sort of move appropriately into, I'm pretty sure we'll start with Facebook and see
Mhm.
where it goes from there.
Absolutely. Yes, there's a question in the back.
I was going to say, I use bookmarks and flyers a lot to direct people online. Because what I find is that even though I've got a sort of knowledge hub type of a website, a lot of people find it via the internet, but a lot of folks in the literacy community here in Canada don't find it. So I do a lot of giving out bookmarks so you can get there. So I'm curious about how people are finding that people get to some of their online presences.
Mhm.
I use a lot of different online presence, but having them really take off in the ways that I was drawn by the idea of them going viral, which has always been a lure to me, and I don't see that happening as much as I want.
All right.
I'm curious about what helps that shift from you're there to there's hundreds of thousands of people visiting you there.
Oh, absolutely. There was another question in that area.
Yeah,
Oh.
not with regards to that,
Yeah.
so I don't know if somebody wanted to answer that. It was sort of with regards to old school tools, so I don't know if there's anybody that wants to answer that question.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because it does connect to the print-based material, also it might connect to the online material, because you're always referring back and forth. And we use Scribe. We put our documents on Scribe, and we embed them in Facebook, or we embed them on our online newsletter, which is also printed, and our website. And we're a small organization. We have about 500,000 hits already on our documents all around the world. So we're finding that's the place, because you put your tags in there and you put every tag possible for that document, and it's really Carol, along with Violet, you know, all the internet stuff, and print. And it's printable too.
Yeah.
It's for the Raymond J. In Laval, COVLiteracy.com. Our website right now is under construction, so stay tuned.
And the tool that you use is Scribd?
Scribe, yes, you know, SCRIBD.
Yeah.
.com, and you can put any of your documents on there and your PowerPoints, and you can have it linked to your website.
Yeah, that's a good start.
So it works really well.
Yes, right there. Yep.
Yeah, I can say you always have to integrate your online presence with your offline presence. You know, in every flyer, everything we do, we always put our Facebook, the icons with Twitter, find us on Facebook, find us on Twitter. Always put it on your like email signature so that people can easily click off because everyone sees an email. So always put it on your signature so it easily links back to where they can find you on Facebook or Twitter or your website. There's just best practices like that. Okay, and on your Twitter profile, always put your website so they can link to your Twitter profile to your website. Same with on Facebook, always links to each other. Right?
Yes, right there.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a unique experience prior to starting with Frontier College in psychological operations, and the single most powerful viral tool you will ever find is face-to-face marketing. And being in the literacy world, with your providers down on the ground, they have those connections in place. If you're going to do anything, teach your staff, go through, find resources to be able, I mean, if you go to the Canadian Forces website, you can access their psychological operations handbooks and that, so you can give yourself an idea. I know it sounds crazy, but the reality is there's a couple things to bear in mind. Find key communicators. Literacy, people who are illiterate, have communities of their own. People who have these challenges, identify people within their own community who are like them. Find the key communicators in those groups, and your message will go like that. If you connect with them and convince them that your program's for real, that they can get something out of it, they will spread that message for you like no one else can. And bear in mind that in a lot of cases, like the groups I'm dealing with, a lot of times they're not even having access to computers. I mean, I had a guy that told me not to call him, and I mean, it is technology still, but he's like, can you text me, because I don't have any minutes left. I mean, we're dealing with a real subset of society, and you really have to identify who you're trying to communicate with. If you're trying to communicate with people in this room, sure, they're great tools. If you're trying to communicate with people at the margins of society, which we often are, you have to find what works for them, and the way you do that is by talking with the people who are providing the service and who are interacting with those people on a daily basis, and you get the information from them. And that's how, and to answer the question back there, that's how you get people to your website. You know, from the very bottom is you gotta do the legwork, find them, get the information from them, and then, like I say, if you can find a couple key communicators, you'll see it go up very quickly.
Has anyone else shared any similar experiences that they want to bring up or share? Yes, Emily?
I'm from Kingston Literacy and Skills. We have 4 separate websites. One is for an event, one is for a specific site, one is our generic corporate one, and literacy, our Center for Expertise in Family Literacy. And of those 4, the Center for Expertise gets a ton of hits because they're constantly adding new stuff to it and have all sorts of resources for download. And so you get people there because they know they're going to have usable stuff that can take away and download and print. And just having lots of takeaways is a real bonus. And the second highest one is actually our spelling bee website because there are pictures on it. So it sounds incredibly basic, but having takeaway stuff and photographs.